Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Jump Up Supercast Game Club. My name is Brandon, and I am your host. And joining me today, I have Will.
This time, you're the ghost host.
I have Noah.
I like possessing bats.
And I've got Ilse.
Raimi.
Thank you. That's the one I was hoping for. Thank you, Ilse. You didn't disappoint me.
You're welcome.
This week on the Game Club, we played a little game called Geist. Geist was released on the Nintendo GameCube back in 2005 in North America, Europe, and Australia. Not in Japan. Can you believe it?
Again, revenge.
I know, right? I feel like that might have happened on another Game Club game kind of recently, but I don't remember for sure. But
yeah. And my last pick was Japan only, so.
Oh, wow.
Man. I did
Man,
it for
you're all
America
about
this
those
time.
region-locked games.
Yeah, boy. You know it.
This game, this is probably the biggest reason why it was, biggest surprise why it was never released in Japan, was because it was developed by N-Space, which is small, you probably never, you might not have ever heard of them, but it was published by Nintendo.
Yeah.
Ah.
So,
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, this game was published by Nintendo themselves. So, N-Space, though, as a developer, they made all the DS Call of Duty games, and they made the GoldenEye 007, GoldenEye Rogue Agent, so for DS as well. So they like to make first-person shooters for the DS, apparently.
And Hannah Montana, the movie, the game. How can you forget? It's a big
Also a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
If that is, I'm buying it right now.
Oh, man, it is.
So yeah, they did a lot of licensed games, but they made Geist, which is very interesting. This game, to me, is a very interesting piece of Nintendo history, and we'll get into that a little bit. But yeah, it's super interesting if you've never heard of this game. It's really never been mentioned in Super Smash Brothers or anything like that. Outside of, I think, in Brawl they have the list, or it's either Brawl or Smash 4, I can't remember. They have the list of every single Nintendo published game ever that you can just look at.
Yeah.
That's the only mention of it in Super Smash Brothers. There's no stickers, trophies, spirits, nothing.
Yeah.
So interesting. Ilse, you're the guy who picked this game for us.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell everybody why you picked this game?
I've always wanted to play this game. I've heard about, I've had it in my mind for a long time because I heard a lot about it when, during the GameCube era. And, yeah, it was just, always in the ether, always, on my mind for some reason. Just felt like an opportunity I had to, resolve.
Okay. Well, you finally got the opportunity here to play it. And this was the first time, I think, for everybody but me, because I played this game back in the day.
Yep.
This is a game that I sold because I was a dumb idiot back then, and I always kicked myself for it. I used to buy, play games, beat them, sell them. I don't do that anymore, but yeah, I did that, and I'm always like, damn, I always wanted to go back to it, so I was happy that you picked it, because it's an interesting game.
It's my job to make you happy.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you took it out upon yourself. It's your job. This game is a first-person shooter, kind of. So it's hard to explain this game. Wikipedia has it listed as first-person action-adventure game.
Yeah.
I think that's decent.
It's far more accurate for, more of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a split. There's a part that's first-person shooter, but then the thing that's memorable is the not shooting portions,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
Even though going around shooting people as other people is fun.
It's fun, but it's just not as good as... No. It's just clearly not built to be, main...
Yeah, it's definitely built around, figuring out how to get to the next room by possessing the different objects and people trying to get... And, most rooms, you have to, figure out how... Because you can only possess a person... basically, you can only go through certain doors if you're a person. So in order to possess a person, you need to scare them.
They gotta be freaked
And in order
out.
to scare them, you have to use the environment to your advantage. And, do a chain of events that would actually lead up to him terrifying the person so you can possess them, basically.
Yeah, and it's actually pretty interesting. Like it's not super hard most of the time.
No,
I mean the kitchen one was a little bit tricky, but other than that, I mean it's not super hard, but it's a nice bit of problem solving. And the fun part about it is that you actually get to feel like you're like in a horror movie, but you're playing the monster.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of like horror movie tropes in it, like you make the water bloody, or you make the mirrors crack. It's pretty funny.
And you sort of like pick off people one by one a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do definitely like that aspect of it. And if you're listening here, I kind of just want to explain it. This game, you play as his name is John Ramey. And at the beginning of the game, you and your, I don't know, team. I don't know if it's a military team, really, exactly what it is.
I think they are,
something
right?
like that. Yeah.
Like CR2, I think, was the like team name.
The
Critical
counter-terrorist,
response or some shit,
counter-terrorist
whatever.
guys.
Yeah.
And they have some lead on some terrorist who is either they think he's making weapons or doing some sort of experiments, and they're trying to shut him down. And they go ahead.
The intro is almost very similar, like in scenario, to Second Sight, which is another Game Club game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And both guys are named John, by the way.
Wow.
So yeah, you play as this gentleman, and he ends up getting captured near the beginning of the game. You're trying to escape. He's got info on them. They get captured, they shoot down their helicopter, whatever. He wakes up and he's in this machine that separates him from his own body, and he becomes kind of like a ghost, like a specter. And you're in a little containment cell. You end up getting broken out of that containment cell, and you find out that you can possess stuff, inanimate objects, and anything living. You need to scare it before you can possess it, which is really such an interesting mechanic. It's really cool figuring out. That's where the puzzle aspect comes in. Just trying to figure out how do I scare these people. There'll be specific people that you'll need. Either with a key, with key card or clearance to get through different
engineers,
areas.
Or with specific skills,
Yeah, exactly. Which that makes it's interesting. It's a fun mechanic, and I like the way they build on it.
Yeah, it's like you feel like extremely overpowered, like very powerful, because you're the ghost and you get to possess people and like do whatever, like you make them do whatever you want. But at the same time, although like to make sure the game isn't just boring, you just go around possess everybody and like just do whatever you want. Like they put these little restrictions that you can only under certain conditions you can be this powerful. But it works. It's like really cool.
Yeah, and you're trapped in some places because you can't interact with the physical world. You need to have a body to do certain things.
And you can possess objects as well as people, right? Like, and you can also possess animals too. And so like, there are, like you sort of said, like there is sort of in a lot of areas, like you'll get to a point where you're shooting because you're possessing people. But like we sort of said, like for me, the thing I liked more was like, I turned this knob and then like poison gas comes out of the floor and they all get freaked out by that, and then you possess and then like you go from there, right? Stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very
the shooting
much,
segment. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's very much feels like they had the concept for the possession, and then they're like, okay, we need to like build a game around that idea. The shooting is secondary because very much is not the reason that this game exists. The possession is.
And it's extremely secondary because the enemies in the game, the AI is really bad.
Not smart.
Yeah. And it's just the enemies, not until the end of the game, are just fucking fodder, dude. They will die in one bullet no matter what gun you have. You have infinite ammo.
When you fight a boss, you can just walk up to the boss and just like shoot him while he shoots you until your body dies, and you just possess another person. You just keep doing that for like half the bosses in the game.
I liked possessing the machine gun cameras and just like mow down people.
That was pretty great.
Some of the bosses, I particularly talking about the bosses. Some of them were kind of cool. Some of them were really dumb.
The ones where it's just like a guy with the shield. You're like, all right.
That was really cool. I liked that was like the second boss, I believe.
Yeah.
The guy that throws the grenade.
Though.
Yeah, you actually possess the grenade, roll it behind him so he gets hit by it.
Yep.
Sure.
It's like really cool.
That's a cool addition. But some of the problems with the bosses were there weren't enough opportunities to use the spectral abilities in a lot of the bosses.
Yeah.
Which I felt like was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of them that was really dumb was this big bug that was just rolling around and you're kind of stuck in like a maze.
Right, yeah.
And you just shoot it. That's literally the whole thing. He just rolls around and you shoot him. And I figured out early on, I was like, if I stand in the corner here, he literally can't hit me. So I would just wait for him to roll by and shoot him, and it was such a stupid boss.
Like,
You know.
there's something cool about that section in which you can choose which guy to possess, and they all have different weapons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they don't utilize it enough.
Yeah.
I
That-
feel like it falls a little short.
That was one thing that like it's relatively minor, right? But like the objects you possess are generally like they're the things you need to do to progress, which is nice because it means you don't waste too much time. But like there was the elements of like playfulness, I think, of sort of like you do this thing and then like as a result of possessing it, another thing happens. Like I wish they gave you a little bit more of like, oh, I could possess this thing and do this thing to freak someone out, or I could do this thing instead, right? Like to just sort of like have an element of playfulness to it. But I mean, the idea of just like also like you go into a dog bowl and you possess a dog, like that's just fun. Like that's just a fun inherent concept, you know? So it's a relatively minor complaint.
I really like the section at the end where you're possessing the rat and you have to like go through the little like maze of it. That's pretty funny.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
and
through the wall,
because
yeah.
there's cheese, there's all these mouse traps set up, and the rat just cannot resist the fact that there is cheese.
He loves it.
So the game like pulls you towards the mouse traps, and you have to like fight it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's really
pretty cool.
cool. And
And
I did, I don't know if you did this. There was like 3 rats, right? And one of them you have to get through. I would take the other ones and just kill them on the mouse traps that were hard to get by. So
Make
it
the
was
sacrifice.
easy. Yeah, and if you get hit by a mouse trap, you could eat the cheese and get a little bit of health back. Yeah.
Mouse strats.
So,
Mouse strats.
mouse rats. One of the things I thought was odd. So when you're a ghost, you have like a spectral meter, and that meter like goes down, right?
Yeah.
When you're not in possession of something. I don't know what happens when you run out because
I've never did it.
Don't have a fucking opportunity to really. And there's these plants everywhere that will like regain it, like your meter back up. But like I never had an issue with it.
Right. I guess it was just like if you got stuck in a certain section, it was just a way for you to die.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, reset.
There are sections where you can get game over by doing certain things like fucking up.
Yeah, if you lose like the main, like one of the characters that you need to progress.
Yeah,
like he
specific
dies or something.
Yeah.
Yep, there was one. Do you remember? There's a boss fight. The guy that you fight multiple times who drops down from the ceiling. You have to turn on all these generators and then rise up in this elevator and turn on the power.
Right.
And you fight him. There's a guy up there who really doesn't do shit, right? But like he just shows up and he's like, oh hey yeah something, and then you go down and you hit. Basically he tells you have to go turn the power on before you can hit the switch. And when you go back up there, he's dead. I killed him. I just saw him up there and I was like, I wonder what this guy's doing. I shot him, and it was like mission failed. Like, what? Like fucking what? Like it's just stuff where like if you kill something that they don't want you to do, the game's just like mission fail.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Restart.
Yeah. Which I thought was funny.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. The way I think about the spectrum mode, with the meter, it reminded me a lot of Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, where you have the physical realm and the spectral realm.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a corollary there.
Yeah, I can see that. One thing
And
I
also,
want to
like,
mention,
you can't
'cause
die in the spectral realm. Yeah.
yeah, you can't. One of the things I want to mention.
I mean, you can if you let your right friend out, but all you need to do is just go into an object or a person, you get all your health back. So.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's similar to the way it is in Soul Reaver.
Yeah.
Like,
So we didn't really talk about like the reason why you became a ghost either. You become a ghost because these guys are trying to like make basically an army of
ghosts, super soldiers.
who that can follow their every command. They're supposed to be obedient, and they're going to use it to do all sorts of terrorist attacks. And in one part that I thought was super fucking cool was when they capture you get captured again, and they put you into a training program.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I think that part was really fucking cool because it was showing you what they wanted,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What they wanted you to be. So you're going through like all these training programs, like becoming a sniper or going after like some sort of ambassador, through like all these FBI agents and stuff. It was really cool. I thought that part was really neat.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the story on the concept is very goofy, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, we're gonna split up all these souls, make an army of ghost soldiers, and then kill every world leader and possess their bodies with our ghosts, and then we'll be the Illuminati. It's like their end game, right? And you're just like, this is, like, that's inherently also, very campy.
And spoiler alert, literally, like, the devil is behind all this.
Yes. The main villain is actually possessed by the devil. It's very campy, but, like, the game's tone is a little... I could never tell if they were like leaning into it as much as like, or if they were just like taking it seriously and like it was just goofy on its face. Like that part I liked, right? Like the training stuff, you're like, if this is neat, they're really going for the concept. And like the little ghost girl that like is with you the whole time. Like when she first popped up, I was like, in comparing it to like Second Sight, I was like, I'm way more intrigued to figure out Ghost Girl's deal than like the girl who like you had a crush on in Second Sight, like so I found like the world to be more interesting, even if like the story was a little self-serious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the girl was the only one that actually had a narrative. Like Raimi had nothing.
Yeah, no, he's a self-insert.
Yeah.
And I really like the section that you were talking about. Like there were two parts. Like the first time you were originally captured, they have you in like this meadow. I thought that part was like really pretty compared to the rest of the game. It was like really vibrant and it's super short, but that's like the first time you get introduced into like it's like a world in your mind. And then I was surprised that they went back to that concept with the whole training sequence. I thought that was really awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that too. And we mentioned the little girl. Just a quick backstory for her. She's the spirit who was like your friend throughout, helping you out, and you find out that the main bad guy was her brother, and that her brother ended up getting possessed by like the devil because he
tried to resurrect her after
he tried to resurrect her with some sort of spirit book or some sort of book he found in a library, and it's just it's kind of corny, but
they've had a fucked up life. Let's just say that.
That's true because they were like living underground or some shit.
Yeah,
it's weird. I forgot. I was totally just gonna say something else about this.
Well, sort of like to what Ills was saying. Like I think the parts where it goes away from like just because there's a lot of like, or especially the earlier environments, you're like going through labs and stuff, right? And like the moments where the game sort of like diverges from sort of like what you feel like are the default like shooter levels, right? Is when I was like the most interested,
Mm-hmm.
Once again, it's sort of that thing. It's like I had overall of the game of like the moments where you go like, hey, be more ghosty, like really that's your thing. Like I could see them maybe being scared of like, hey, like we can't just have a game where you're floating around. But I mean, I kind of would have loved that. I think it's kind of rules.
Well, I think the problem was that they didn't focus enough. I mean, if they were hell bent on doing the whole hybrid, action, first-person adventure, action-adventure, and first-person shooter, they didn't focus enough on the first-person shooter part because it was very like uninspired. They didn't
just enough to be fun, but yeah.
They didn't really feel like they were meshed. They didn't mesh well together very well.
Yeah.
They just kind of felt like at cross purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like. The first-person shooter part was passable, and that was about it.
Yeah. And it really kind of breaks down at the end because that's when they lean more heavily into the shooter parts.
Mm-hmm.
Because for like the last, I don't know, I want to say maybe hour of the game, it's heavily first person shooter, and it doesn't go well. I especially disliked fighting those spectral agents. Oh man.
Oh my god. Dude,
I just wanted to.
Those were annoying. They would possess you, which was very weird to me that they could do that, considering you were already. I don't know if it canceled out, because at that point in the game you get your old body back. So
yeah.
You're like, does it cancel out? I wouldn't think two things could possess the same thing, but maybe because I have my old body back, it doesn't count.
Yeah, I mean, you're possessing people with.
It's probably a special situation because you had your Geist removed and then you got brought back, so it's like.
I will say, near the end of the game, though, this was fucking. I really liked this. You get like a superpower suit.
Yeah.
That lets you slow down time. And I really liked that mechanic. I thought that was really cool. And
right. I thought this was cool because like earlier in the game, whenever you got like a new kind of character, they each had like a special ability. Yeah. Like I remember the engineer had the rivet gun, and you could solve like those little puzzles.
Yeah.
You could rivet like things on the wall or whatever. And once you got to that level, you got like a super soldier, and he had that ability where he could just like slow down time and fight other super soldiers, fight other spectral beings. It's pretty cool.
And I also liked in that same thing, like sometimes when you would possess people, or you would like it like just a little flash of like a memory or whatever, right? Like, and I liked that too, because it would make it feel like, okay, like I'm. Like, these are characters I'm possessing rather than just, like, enemy type, and that was cool.
Yeah, I liked that, too. And, it would usually show you, like, an objective of, oh, hey, they put the serum down here in the freezer, like, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
So now I know where to go, and I also liked how if you scared somebody so bad that a little bit of their consciousness would still be in there, and they would not let you go back to where that was because they would be so terrified. Like if you got near it, like the game would be like, no. It's like a way of gatekeeping you.
Freaked out.
Yeah. It's a clever way of gatekeeping you. You don't need to go back here, but it makes sense from the story wise. So I was like, okay, this is neat.
Yeah. I also wish they kind of like played with that idea more. Like I feel like they barely fleshed that out. Like things having specific fears and wants. And
it only
mentioned the
like
rat
a couple times.
With the cheese. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was cool too. It's like I feel like that's like a problem. That if I had like a complaint, like a lot of things needed to be more fleshed out.
Yeah. There was a lot of like, this is a game that's full of like really neat ideas, right? But it doesn't. I mean, looking at the rest of like InSpace's output, right? Like you wouldn't view them as like a top tier developer, but like this is I mean, this is their claim to fame, and sort of like it felt like it was guys that had a really good idea, and then like when it came to actually designing a lot of the game around it, it was sort of among the more basic implementations of it. There's some places where it gets wild and interesting, and we talked about those, but largely it was like, oh, okay, you have the ghost thing, how do we make the ghost thing work? And then sort of they didn't like, there's the thing of, I mean, it's unfair to compare them to like the Mario team, right? But you look at the Mario team and you're just like, the thing that makes that game so cool is like, oh, there's so many different twists and turns on these different ideas, and it keeps testing these concepts in new weird ways. And I wish there was, in Geist, I've had that thought a lot. Like, oh, like, I wish there was a Geist 2 where they could go wild, Yeah. I mean, at least we'll say with this game, like, they present, new, unique ideas to the table for gameplay-wise. And while some of them fall flat, we wish it expanded on them more. It's not like any of them were awful. No.
No. It's not like Blinks where they have good ideas on the table. It's just the execution of it was just fucking terrible,
No. I really like the ideas, right? That's why like I set this up. It's like I'm like, man, like this is so cool, and like I would like more of it.
Yeah, same. Yeah. And speaking of cool, I want to give shout out to the dude, your best friend, because your first objective, really, once you get your body back, once you become a ghost, is you realize they also stole your partner, your friend Bryson. This dude is my favorite guy in the game.
This fucking guy, holy shit,
Bryson, he's about to have his body extracted, have become a specter as well. and your first objective really is to save him, and it's just you save him, but he's having a real bad day. He's on the brink of death.
He really is.
And, yeah, and he gets eaten by a big ass monster bug. And then my favorite thing was he gets eaten by this fucking thing, and you have to fight it by throwing grenades into its mouth.
It's oh my god!
And
like how?
And then after you beat him, he comes out of the body fine.
It was in a different stomach. They had multiple stomachs.
Okay, and then he comes out and he just says, "Man, I'm having a real bad day."
Yeah, I mean, oh man.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Sure. He's having a hard life.
Yeah, it was the most like, it was the most fucking reminded me of like Donald Glover in like Lethal Weapon. I'm too old for this shit. Like,
2 days from retirement.
Oh man, and then like right after that, his helicopter gets shot down. Like what the fuck? You can't catch a break.
And in a twist, you shoot down his helicopter, but not you, but some other thing is possessing your body and shoots down that fucking helicopter.
Oh man.
I did like though the whole thing with when you were helping him, trying to escape. And when you possess a body, you guys made like a little hand signal to show each other.
Yeah.
So he would know and be like, "Okay, it's you, Raimi." I thought that was neat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were a lot of like little animations that really fleshed out the the character and the world. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that too. Yeah. And I really liked when you possess that woman, that scientist woman or doctor.
Yep.
And well, the whole part with you initially finding her in the shower.
Good part. Naked butts in my Nintendo game.
A little bit risque.
This was the second one, right? Eternal Darkness was first, but this is the second ever Nintendo published M-rated game.
Right.
So they were like, let's throw a butt in there.
They published Perfect Dark, right?
Did they? Maybe.
Or was Perfect Dark rated M or teen? I can never remember. But yeah, very rare for them to publish an M-rated game. And there's dudes peeking on these girls in the shower, and their butts are out, and they're straight up naked, man.
It's very much B horror movie.
Yes.
It's silly. But I really like after you capture the girl, you possess her. You use her for a bit and you fight off aliens with like a fire extinguisher for a while. And that's pretty unique. But then she gets upgraded. Like she takes down a soldier, or she helps Bryson and they take down a soldier, and then she just like takes his body armor, and then you start using her with a gun. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, she puts her hair up and she becomes like a badass soldier with all like the the body armor and stuff. I'm like, this is cool, dude.
Yeah, she suddenly became like an important character, and she shows up at the end.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I didn't see it coming. Yeah, I liked it. I laughed a lot during the backstory for the bad guy and the ghost girl scene. Just because the way she died, you're just like,
oh yeah.
He was reading a book in a tree. He's like, I don't want to come down, and she just falls from the tree and fucking dies.
it's fucking yeah. So,
and then Satan gets involved immediately after, basically, and you're like, great, this is
the opportunity he was waiting for.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that was really cool, we're going back to the possession of the girls, and the naked butts. I want to go back to that. But when you become the girl, you're starting a girl's locker room.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to find Samus's fucking helmet in one of the lockers.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool like Nintendo little.
Yeah, there's a GameCube in one of the lockers too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very strange to put that in a locker room, but okay.
Yeah. Well, it's just cool. Like, Samus is here somewhere.
Yeah, you get the vibe these guys are like, Nintendo's letting us make a game for him? Like, screw it, dude. Like, we're not gonna probably get another chance at this. Throw Samus in, like, through all these references.
Yeah, and there's some TVs later in a rec room, and it's like, there's an NES and a Super NES in here. Mm-hmm. It's cool. I enjoyed the Nintendo references, especially the Samus one. That one was great.
Top notch.
Yeah. And you get there's collectibles throughout the game. So there's like host collectibles that you can only collect when you're in possession of a host, and there's ghost collectibles that are like the little teddy bears that the girl would like leave around.
Yeah.
Yeah. What the hell was the girl's name? Do you even know?
Gigi?
Gigi.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gigi. You find her little teddy bear scattered around, and every time you find one, when you find a ghost one, it increases your little spectrometer. And when you find every like 2 host ones you find, you unlock new multiplayer stuff. Which, by the way, this game has multiplayer, but I can't tell you how good it is because I never played it.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, you can unlock like stages and stuff by collecting the collectibles.
Yeah.
I'd be really interested in what the fuck the multiplayer is.
I looked up the modes because there's no way we could have played it. There's one that's just like team deathmatch, but you're ghosts, right? But I like the one that was capture the host, which is capture the flag. But like, there's a specific character that like is the flag, and you possess that one, and everyone else has to try to defend it. Which is cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But who knows if it's actually fun to play.
Yeah, I think that would have been kind of fun.
Yeah, so they have to spook the guy to be able to possess him. Yeah, so like they throw in the puzzle elements in the multiplayer versus. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of like the idea of, unlocking stuff through just collectibles and stuff, At least it gives the collectibles something a meaning.
Yeah.
I always am a big fan of collectibles actually unlocking shit, not just being there to pad stats for the game, I want to talk about, as well, right at the end of the game, there's 3 bosses in a row that you fight.
Very strange.
Yeah. And the bosses are weird. You fight 2 giant golems. It's like, what the fuck? That just seems really out of left field for me.
Yeah.
And you fight these 2 giant spectral golems. And then you fight the dude in his like little floaty chair, which was fine. And then the dude and then you fight Satan. And when you fight Satan, you become a ghost, and you fight Satan as a ghost. And then all of a sudden, for whatever fucking reason, it just the breaks down. I remember when I first played this game, I couldn't remember thinking about it what the final boss was, but I can remember I hated it. That's all I can remember, and I didn't hate it because it was hard. I hated it because I thought it was stupid. And then when I finally got there again, I was like, "Yep, I remember why this was stupid now." You just become a ghost again. You lose your body for the moment. You fight Satan, and it's like a weird like rail shooter. Like Satan's in the middle, and he's got like a shield, and you have to like shoot the openings in it, and you can shoot now all of a sudden. You can shoot these beams.
You got laser beams or whatever.
Yeah. And it's just fucking dumb. It was stupid.
That and like there's like this weird movement going on, like that you can't control. Like
yeah,
the
kind
game's
of pulls
moving
you
in
around.
a way. Yeah, like I don't understand what the fuck.
It kind of reminds me. Remember the level where you shoot the balloons in Mario Sunshine on like the roller coaster, where you just where you're just like you're sort of like you're trying to aim it, but like because you're not controlling the way that you move, sometimes you're like, how am I supposed to aim right now, game? Like, what do you expect me to do?
It more reminded me of that first boss in the first Metroid Prime.
Also, don't remember that.
Okay, with the big queen, they have the Smash.
Oh, the
Bros.
Parasite Queen.
Yeah. And it's like there's openings in the shield that goes around her.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's just like that shit. It's just like that. But
and the only difference is in Metroid Prime you actually have control of your character, whereas in this case, like you're on a rail.
Yeah, and you move in like three dimensions because you like floating, so you go up and down and left and right, and it's he like shoots the shields out, and you can kind of tell for a second because they blink. But it's very difficult to fucking move when the game's kind of like jerking you all around and pulling you back and forth.
I mean,
I'll say at the end with those last 3 bosses, my favorite turned out to be those fucking golems because the other 2 were just annoying as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second guy was just annoying because this fucking ghost shit showing up too.
That and he hits way harder than you, and there's like nothing you could do, but
Yeah, you just sit there and like kind of chip out his health, and it takes forever. It was yeah. And
that was like one of the instances where I really wish there was something for me to do in ghost form.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it was just a wasted opportunity. Like,
I was like, I wish you could like possess like one of the rockets he shoots and just like turn it around back at him, something.
That or like something with the environment to change, like maybe throw some rocks on him or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where like, it's hard because we played it on emulator, so there's no like, we all use the same control method. But when I tried it with I was able to set up a GameCube controller, and like I think the C stick for like the shooting portions, I had trouble lining up stuff a lot. Like, it wasn't like a huge problem, but it was like, with the C-Stick being as small as it is, they like had to turn the sensitivity up, I feel like. And
yeah,
so,
but
like,
also there was a weird auto-aim function going on.
Yeah.
It was like very, like barely noticeable, but like when you're trying, well, first of all, the aiming was a little bit slow to begin with, but when you tried to aim towards like the target, it would kind of hook to it, not lock on, but like hook to it. So if you like move or like strife left or right, it would stay on him in like the circle around him, not specifically locked on, but like you would move a little, like normally the cursor would move with the camera, but it would like kind of like rotate your character so he's still looking at him, but it's not like the target's not 100% where you were aiming.
Yeah, it's like an aim assist.
Yeah, like an aim assist kind of thing, but also that also turns your camera.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was weird getting used to.
I noticed it a little bit on like one of the bosses while I was trying to like kind of strafe and stay locked onto him.
Yeah. And maybe it was just that like you shouldn't be trying to do like longer range shots, but eventually I just sort of was like, okay, I'll just like walk up to where I'm like, you know, within 10 feet of someone before I shoot him, just because like that way I don't have to worry about aiming as much.
Yeah, it never felt like the cursor was completely on him. Like it was kind of hard to direct it, but you know, whatever. This
Yeah,
is like
comparatively small, but
yeah, but this is like one of my problems with like them not fixing up the FPS version side of things. But you know,
Yeah, it just could have been more polished, really, all around, I think.
Yeah, they just didn't make it very interesting in that section.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, obviously.
Well,
like,
that wasn't their main focus, so.
I know, but if you're gonna include it, especially
it's true.
how they heavily focus on it at the back end of the game, you have to really fix it up.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple things I could, like, obviously, like, the main, like, mechanics, right, could have been better, like, the aiming and the feel of everything.
Which is weird, because they've done first-person shooters before.
Yeah, but, I mean, I've never played any other first-person shooters, but they're all, like, DS downports of Call of Duty and stuff. I don't, you know, so I'm not going to trash them and say they aren't good. But I also don't imagine that they are.
You mean you didn't play Hannah Montana?
Well, I played that, obviously. But I mean the Call of Duty games.
Well, you said first-person shooters. So
the Call of Duty and James Bond games that were on the DS that they made. You know, I'd be interested now to at least try one to see, like, does it feel similar to Geist in terms of the first-person, you know, the shooting aspect?
sure.
Well, it would be weird because first-person shooters on the DS generally aren't that great.
Nope, they're not.
No, but here's this isn't. I forgot to mention this, tying into the next thing we're gonna do on the Game Club. They did the DS port of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, baby.
Oh, damn.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's all coming full circle.
No, but I meant to mention this because the three guys who like founded the studio all worked at Sega for a period of time. They were on Yu Suzuki's team for a little bit, right? And so like, I mean, I don't know like the full backstory of these guys, but it feels like very much like that team was known for having a lot of technical prowess and like pulling off things that you couldn't think was like sort of doable with like Virtua Fighter and with a bunch of other stuff, right? And I can see that traced to Geist, right? Like on a technical level, like the swapping of the perspectives, all this stuff that's happening is very impressive, right? Like it wasn't like a lot of games were able to do this at the time.
Yeah.
Which may be why some of like, you know, the shooting stuff felt secondary with because they were focusing so much on making that actually be able to happen, you know? The swapping of possessions and all that other stuff. So, who knows?
Yeah. It's certainly, if anything, man, I'll say it's an interesting footnote in the history of Nintendo.
And a pretty good game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish more games like came out with like unique ideas about like possession and like the other dimension of this that is the spirit world and such.
Yeah, I mean, and I wish Nintendo would, you know, maybe get, you know, I know now they're doing publishing with like Platinum with Bayonetta, but I always am, you know, I'm always, you know, big supporter of when Nintendo takes on some M-rated products, you know, some more mature stuff. You know, I'm not saying, oh, that's what they should do. I mean, real gamers play fucking M-rated.
Why does it Mario
to make Eternal Darkness again?
Mario should say fuck.
I used to say fuck.
But yeah, it's always cool when they do stuff, you know. And I'd be interested, you know, of course, to see them try more of this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird that the game never came out in Japan, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that was just the thing they thought that.
Yeah, the only thing that makes it weird is because Nintendo's the one that published it, so I was like, huh. Yeah. But I can see maybe it wouldn't be as what's the word I'm looking for? Attracting to Japanese audience, or is like
marketable,
interesting.
Yeah, I feel like at that time, like the Eternal Darkness, all these other things were like clearly plays to the West, right? They like, and so I feel like with Japan, maybe they also thought like first-person shooters. Japan traditionally doesn't like as much. I don't know.
Well, that and also, Japan like the West really loves like shooters and like horror games, like horror genre in general. Well, in Japan, like do like horror as well, but it's like a different kind of horror. It's weird.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
InSpace worked on another horror game, by the way. I forgot to mention Rugrats: The Search for Reptar on the PS1. Another M-rated game.
That's terrifying. I never want to play that game. I'll be too scared.
There's the freaky goose. It's terrifying.
Gentlemen, do you guys have anything left before we move on to recommendations?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, like, whenever I was playing this game, I thought a lot about Metroid Prime, because that was another notable first-person action-adventure game that also had, some FPS elements because, it's Samus. She has an ARP cannon.
And Samus's helmet was in the game to remind you.
Yes, obviously. But obviously you're using, you're targeting in that game, you're using your arm cannon to solve most of your, problem solving in that game. Sure. But I thought that Nintendo did a masterful job with that game, infusing both like the FPS elements and the action-adventure elements. And this, and to really pair this with Geist shows that how Geist kind of fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, it just it didn't feel as integrated as a game like Metroid Prime.
Yeah. And you know what else reminded me of Metroid Prime? Sometimes you'd open a door and you would be like, "Is this door ever gonna open?" And then you're like, "Oh, the game's loading."
That's the loading screen, baby. Yeah.
Clearly, yes.
But I can see what you mean. Where like comparing Metroid Prime to this game really shows like the flaws or just the how much more this game could have been had they fleshed it out more.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it definitely had a lot of potential.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, now we're gonna move on to recommendations. This is the part everybody loves because they want to know if we recommend it to them. Should you go out and play this game right now? Ails, I'm gonna start with you because you picked the game, and would you recommend this game to somebody?
I wouldn't say go out and play the game right now, but yes, generally yes. I think it was pretty enjoyable. Tonally, it's tongue in cheek. Like I said before, I like feeling like the monster, scaring other people. Mm-hmm. All those horror movie elements that you get to control in this game. This is pretty fun.
Okay. I'm gonna go next. I just want to tell a little story that I have surrounding this game. A few years ago, I was at work, and one of my coworkers mentioned, he mentioned to me he had a GameCube, and he's like, "Yeah, man, he knows I like video games. He's not like big into games, so he mentioned he had a GameCube, and he mentioned, one of the games like I had was like this game called Geist. Probably never heard of it." And I was like, "No, I've heard of that game, dude." And he was like, "Yeah, I thought it was dumb." And I was like, "Huh." I was like, "Really? I like that game a lot." And he was just like, "Yeah, I don't know. Like, I thought it was going to be a first-person shooter, and it was just not what I expected. I didn't really like it." And then I thought, just thinking about it, and I was like, maybe, Geist is a game that, obviously not everybody's going to enjoy. If somebody's looking for a first-person shooter, and like maybe they see screenshots of Geist, but then they play it, they're probably going to be like, "What the fuck?" But Geist is a game I would recommend to people who are, one, of course, interested in Nintendo's history. And two, just a fan of some of things that are weird and different, and it can enjoy and appreciate interesting games. And for your normal first-person shooter fans, I do not recommend Geist, of course.
Are you saying this is not the Halo killer?
No, it's not. Sorry.
Damn.
No. Maybe it's more of a Halo killer than Killzone was. Who knows?
Or Haze.
Or Haze. But yeah, I would say yes to those specific people like I just mentioned, but no for if you're looking for like a really hardcore first-person shooter. Of course, no. Maybe play Bulletstorm instead. Sure. But I'm gonna move on to Will now.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's once again, like we said, like it's a game that's full of really neat concepts, and I think that if you've heard the stuff that we've said so far, like we mentioned a couple, but there's actually a lot more that you'll still be surprised by, I think. So yeah, I generally had a good time playing through it. So yeah, I would recommend it.
Okay, Noah.
Yeah, it's pretty different in that aspect. But yeah, it's not frustrating at all. It's a pretty nice experience. It's a pretty good experience. I would definitely recommend it as long as you're not expecting, like Brandon said, a hardcore first-person shooter with tight controls.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's something I forgot to mention. Like, it has a good amount of variation. Like, you never feel completely bored with the game. Like, it never feels stale to me. It never got to feel stale to me.
And it wasn't overly long. I think helped that too.
Yeah. You're right.
It didn't overstay it. It didn't overstay its welcome.
For sure. Yeah, I will say the variation is one thing I appreciated a lot. All right, well,
really, you should play The Haunting starring Poltergeist on the Sega Genesis, because it's the same thing, but you're a ghost with a leather jacket.
Well, maybe we should play that game for the game club someday. Think about that. But while we think about that, why don't we think about where we're going to be putting Geist on the list? Following the paste bin below. The list, if you want to click on that paste bin, is just an ongoing list of video games that we add to every single week on the regular podcast, and we add every game club game we play. After we're done talking about it, we throw it on the list, and it's just a list of games from best to worst, and we just constantly adding games to it, and we have to figure out where Geist goes. And
right now we're at 124 games on it, huh? Wow.
124 games on this list so far. It's getting big. And Ilse, I know that I always start with who picked the game to give us the first suggestion and start the conversation off. So, where are you thinking? Were you looking at the list? What are you thinking? Where does this game go?
I'm having a hard time. Wow. I can say with utter certainty that it goes above Winback 2, at least.
Okay.
Winback 2.
I can say that too. I can agree with that, for sure.
Okay, sure.
Where's Winback 2?
Number 98 on the list.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
I don't know where it goes. What do you think about Sin and Punishment? This game versus Sin and Punishment?
I probably put it above.
I think I put it below Zack and Wiki.
That's another issue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that is an issue. And Zack and Wiki is too low.
That's a problem. That's a problem.
Well, get in the room, Hank. Like, literally, very, very soon.
Something's coming up. Something's coming up. It might fulfill your dreams. You never know.
Oh man, I want to have. I want to have that conversation again. But
Saf is sweating right now. He doesn't know why.
Yeah, I mean, like, but also Legacy of Kain Soul Reaper is also very good.
Yeah,
a game that we mentioned multiple times.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I would put. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm thinking maybe it was below Zack and Wiki. Like, for sure, I'd put it above Kirby's Dream Land. I'd put it above Fire Emblem: The Sacred Stones.
Mm-hmm.
All right, forget about Zack and Wiki for a second. Would you put it above Sin and Punishment?
Specifically, Sin and Punishment, I'd say yes, because like Sin and Punishment like was cool, but it was like extremely short, and the nonsensicalness of it, like, just blew my fucking mind apart, kind of. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but...
You don't like fighting the world when you're on the world?
I am.
It gave me the exact same feeling how I felt when I finished watching Neon Genesis Evangelion. So...
Yes. So I guess that means that it succeeded, because that's what they were trying to do. So.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, if that was what they were going for, they fucking nailed it. But, like, I really enjoyed, like, the concept and the ideas the Geist, like, went with. Like, the whole possession mechanic, all the puzzle elements to it. Like, it was a very enjoyable experience, like I mentioned earlier. It's just that needed polish. Like, on other aspects.
Yeah. I think I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say I would put it above Sin and Punishment. I don't know if I would put it above Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Maybe.
No. And considering what the other games above it are, I would... Zombies Ate My Neighbors... I don't know, I didn't play Zombies Ate My Neighbors that much, so I can't really say. I don't think I wouldn't put it above Toomba, though.
I don't think I'd put it above Toomba either.
I think I'd put it below Zombies.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think my problem is, I don't want it to go below. I don't think it's better than Zack and Wiki, but I also don't want to play that game where I put it lower because this other game is too low.
Yeah.
I don't want to play that game.
I mean, yeah, I've constantly run into that problem with fucking Alundra.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I'm good with that spot. Below Zombies Ate My Neighbors is what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
All
good
right.
with that. So yeah, that would put the game at number 87 on the list. Surrounding it is Toomba, then Zombies Ate My Neighbors, and now 87 we've got Geist. 88 is Sin and Punishment, which is also a Game Club game, by the way. So there's an episode for that if you want to hear us talk about it and how absolutely weird that game is. And number 89 now, Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. Permanently underrated game. Most of these games are, though, honestly. Right? I feel
Underrated by us?
We fit.
Well, we fit. I'm saying in this little block here. These games are all pretty underrated. So I would, honestly, these are games that you should go check out. But before we wrap things up here, I'm just going to do a couple of shout-outs for a couple of things that we got coming up here. One of them is around the same time, sometime soon. Who knows exactly? We don't have a date for it, so it's going to come. It's just going to be a little bonus. Here you go. Mwah. We love you guys. It's going to be an episode of the Game Club. Not on the normal, schedule, but it's going to be on Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which is a fairly recent game. Just came out on the Nintendo Switch, and we played that game. There's going to be a special guest on that episode. It's, Andrew from the Cosmic Airwaves podcast is going to be joining us talking about that game, and it's going to be fun. I had a good time. Spoiler alert. It's kind of a fun time. We're going to be talking about that soon, so keep an eye out for that if you enjoyed the Game Club. And we also have the regular episodes of the Jump Up Supercast hitting your feed every single Monday, where we just talk about game news and other topics in video games. And of course, the list. You can't forget about the list. It's there every week. And speaking of the list, I know this is going to be uploaded too late for it, but just at this time you're probably listening to this past Sunday, we had a Ranker Slam where we all re-ranked video games, and on the list we each pick a game. We're going to be playing Mario Kart to decide the order, so that's going to be fun. And if you miss Ranker Slam Live, don't worry about it, my friend, because Ranker Series is going to be happening in November, so we're going to do another re-rank. And will we play Mario Kart? Maybe. Who knows how it goes? This is like the first time we're doing this, so we're kind of testing the waters here. If we enjoy it, have fun, maybe we'll play something else. Who knows what we're going to do? But probably going to be video games being streamed also us, re-ranking and arguing, and you're probably getting really upset at each other. We hope for the best, but we prepare for the worst here when we do these re-ranks.
This one, there's so many targets that Spice could be likely.
Yeah, there's a lot of targets out there, and the more games we add to the list, the harder it gets. And that's where the fun comes in, because we're just constantly like, damn, we fucked up here, we fucked up there, and it's never gonna stop. So because we're always gonna be adding games, and we're always gonna re-rank them, so it's fun to go back and try to fix mistakes that we made, and maybe we'll make more mistakes. Who knows?
Together,
because we have to come to a consensus majority agreement here. And everybody's going to be there too. So, the people who aren't, usually around, a little bit of Muzzy, a little bit of Saf, Noah's going to be there. So, we're all going to be there. It's going to be a fun time. So, if you watch it, I hope you enjoy it. If not, we're going to be doing it again in November for Ranker Series, and it's going to be fun. So, keep an eye out. We'll keep you updated on all that stuff.
And it's going to be on Twitch, right?
It's going to be on Twitch, right?
It's going to be on Twitch, sorry, yeah. Well, speaking of Twitch, we have twitch.tv/Up Supercast. That's where we're going to be live streaming it. So if you want to check it out. Also, give us a follow, because we're going to play, we play video games there, here and there. So if you want to just follow us and interact with us and have fun there, we can do that too. We, of course, have the podcasts and on your podcast feeds, but we upload them mainly on SoundCloud. So we have soundcloud.com/jumpupsupercast, and you can find us on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can find us as well. And as well, you can find us on YouTube, and we have where you can listen to the podcast, and you can find us on social media where we post when the episodes go up and all that fun stuff. So we got Facebook, we got Twitter, and we got Instagram. So check us out and leave some comments. Say hello. We'll talk to you. But one more thing. Before we go, I just want to say thank you guys for joining me. And Noah, it's your turn to pick a game. So
it is.
What game are we playing next on the Game Club?
Okay, so 4 weeks ago you picked a Japan-only game, and then 2 weeks later Ills picked US only that didn't go to Japan.
I hate this already.
So no. I gotta continue the trend. And pick a Europe-only game, or at least in terms of Europe exclusive in terms of the West, because I don't know if it went out of Japan or not. And we're gonna play a sequel to an older Game Club game, Terranigma.
Fuck yes!
Okay, alright, we did it!
You were worried I was gonna pick a bad game.
Well, I've heard rumors.
All right, cool. Well, this is a game that I've heard good things about. So this is going to be fun. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks when we come back, and we're going to talk about Terranigma here on the Game Club. And I know I just said it, but I want to thank Ills, I want to thank Will, I want to thank Noah for joining me here, playing video games and having fun. And I want to thank everybody for listening. So go out there, do me a favor, play some video games, and be nice.